When Maria Delgado moved into her new house on Ashwood Lane, she noticed something strange on her very first night. A single light, glowing in the window of the house next door. It stayed on all night, every night, for the next 3 weeks. She didn't think much of it at first, until she found an old photograph in a box left behind by the previous owner. A photograph from 1974, showing that exact same house. And standing on the porch was a man, the same man Maria had waved to just that morning. Welcome to the Unknown Files X, where real stories, dark mysteries, and hidden truths are told. Maria had just moved to the small town of Fairview Hollow, looking for a quiet place to start over after a difficult divorce. The house next door belonged to a man named Edwin Marsh. He was polite, a little quiet, and always dressed the same way. A gray coat, a brown hat, old-fashioned but tidy. At first, Maria thought nothing of him. He waved from his porch every morning at exactly 7:15. He watered the same 3 rose bushes every evening. He never seemed to have visitors. But what happened next changed everything. While unpacking boxes left in the attic by the home's previous owner, Maria found a small tin box. Inside were old letters, a rusted key, and that photograph. The photograph showed the house next door in the year 1974. And on the porch, waving at the camera, stood a man in a gray coat and a brown hat. Edwin Marsh. Same face, same clothes, same posture. 50 years had passed, and he hadn't aged a single day. Maria told herself it had to be a relative, a grandfather, maybe even a great-grandfather with the same name. That happens sometimes, right? But the more she looked at the photograph, the less that explanation made sense. The eyes were identical, the small scar above his left eyebrow, even the way he stood, with his left hand resting in his coat pocket. That wasn't the strangest discovery. Maria decided to visit the local library, hoping to find old newspaper archives about Edwin Marsh. What she found left her hands trembling. A newspaper clipping from 1974 mentioned a man named Edwin Marsh, reported missing after a strange incident at Fairview Hollow's old chapel. Witnesses said he had walked into the chapel during a thunderstorm and never walked out. The chapel doors were locked from the inside. No one was ever found. The case went cold and the story faded from memory. Until now, Maria began asking around town, carefully, trying not to sound crazy. An elderly shop owner named Mr. Higgins remembered the name immediately. He told her his own grandmother used to say that Edwin Marsh visited her family's bakery every single year, on the same date, in the same clothes, for as long as she could remember. She always said he looked exactly the same, Mr. Higgins whispered. Never older, never different. We used to joke that he made a deal with something in that old chapel. Then the mystery became even darker. That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She sat by her window, watching the light glowing next door. At exactly midnight, the light went out. And a moment later, she heard footsteps on her own porch. She looked through the peephole. No one was there. But on the ground sat a small wooden box, tied with a faded ribbon. Inside was a single key, identical to the one from the tin box in her attic, and a note written in careful, old-fashioned handwriting. It read, "You found the photograph. Now you must decide if you want to know the rest." If you're enjoying this mystery so far, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the Unknown Files X, and share this story with someone who loves real mysteries and hidden truths. I'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think is really happening? Now, let's continue. Maria almost threw the note away. But curiosity is a powerful thing. The next morning, she gathered her courage and knocked on Edwin's door. He answered, smiling gently, as if he had been expecting her. "You found my box," he said. "I wondered how long it would take." Maria asked him directly, "Why haven't you aged? What happened at that chapel in 1974? Edwin invited her in for tea and told her a story that seemed impossible to believe. He said that on the night of the storm, he had gone into the old chapel searching for shelter. Inside, he found an elderly woman, sitting alone in the dark, holding a candle that never seemed to burn down. She told him she had been waiting for someone willing to take her place, to watch over the town, to keep a quiet promise that had been made generations before. He didn't remember agreeing to anything. He only remembered walking out of the chapel and realizing years had passed in what felt like a single night. Since then, he said, time simply stopped touching him. He aged only in his mind, watching decades pass while his body stayed frozen in that same year. But here's where the story takes its darkest turn. Maria didn't believe him. Not fully. She thought perhaps he was simply a very convincing storyteller or unwell. That was until she opened the old chapel herself, using the rusted key from the tin box. Inside, dust covered every pew. But near the altar sat a candle, still burning. After 50 years, next to it was a guest book filled with names dating back decades. The final entry, written in Edwin's handwriting, simply said, "Waiting for the next name." And beneath it, in ink that looked disturbingly fresh, was Maria's own name. She hadn't written it. She spun around, and Edwin was standing in the chapel doorway, holding the door open. "I didn't choose this," he said quietly, "but someone has to keep watch. And now, the chapel has chosen you." Maria ran. She packed her things that same week and left Fairview Hollow for good, telling herself it was all some elaborate, cruel prank. But months later, a letter arrived at her new address, one she had never given to anyone in that town. Inside was a photograph, taken just last week, showing her new house. And standing on her new porch, smiling faintly, was Edwin Marsh, still wearing the same gray coat, still not aged a single day. To this day, no one knows what truly happened inside that chapel in 1974, or whether the story Edwin told was real, imagined, or something far stranger than either. Some say the chapel still stands, its candle still burning, waiting patiently for whoever opens that guest book next. If this story kept you watching until the end, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss another mystery here on the Unknown Files X. Because somewhere, right now, a candle is still burning, and someone new might already be waiting to write their name.